We are live. And today we want to talk with you about um, online models, business online models, because a lot of people, as you know, retail is becoming digital, transforming into digital. A lot of people are at home, trying to use Zoom, trying to bring their business online, trying to find different ways that they can use the internet to still be in touch with people, connect with them, and turn that into a business, because we don't know what's going to happen, and the uncertainty is the one thing that kind of like messes everything up. So we want to help you with that. So before we dive in with our guest, Jonathan, who's joining us from the Philippines. Hey, Jonathan.
Hi, thanks for having me. It's great to be here.
Yeah, and you are at, I believe it's 2 a.m., 3 a.m. in the Philippines?
Yeah, so I'm living in the middle of nowhere on a tiny, tiny island, which does mean sometimes my internet connection is a little funky, and I do apologize for that. I'm going to do my absolute best to be super fast tonight.
It'll be awesome. And so because Jonathan is in the Philippines and Zoom doesn't play nice with us all the time, sometimes we might just turn the camera off, and you'll hear his voice. And if you want to talk to him, because you'll get a lot of value from this, hop on in viralconnectivity.com/live. Right below the video, you'll see a button. Click that button, hop on in, and get all your online business model questions answered, hopefully. So before we get started, I want to share with you something. Today, this morning, I was listening to a podcast. Douglas Bordet, I think that's how you pronounce his name, right, Paul? Douglas Bordet.
Burnett.
Bordet. He was interviewing Philip Stutz. That's going to be on That Geek Show in July. We'll try to bring him sooner here. But what's interesting about this podcast and why I'm bringing it up to your attention, and why I would love for you to watch it, to listen to it, listen to it and take notes, is because what Philip is talking about is how everything that has worked up until this point is no longer working. And there are three things that if you are putting your business online right now and if you're advertising, that you should pay attention to. I'm not going to spoil it. Three things you're going to get from the podcast. But even more than that, Philip works for, he used to be a political advisor to for politicians to create ads and get more votes in the polls. And he was always basing his recommendations on data. So he would say, if you're pro-gun, right, and if you want to win in New Hampshire, then let's go and see what the people in New Hampshire feel about that. And that's going to be your platform. That's what you're going to be talking about, not the stuff that you think you want to be talking about. So you find what people are interested in, and then you are going to go and create the ads and the conversation around what they care. And so that way they'll vote for you. So to do that, he is diving into the data, paying a lot of money to get reports of how consumers are feeling about certain things. And so usually he sells those reports for about $5,000, $10,000 for his clients, sometimes more. And because of the COVID and everything that's happening right now, he is giving it away for free on his website. So if you are advertising, or if you want to know how to interact with people right now, listen to this podcast, download this report, because it will tell you exactly what is the sentiment of your audience and how you should be talking to them right now to position yourself as the trustworthy advisor, the person who is there to help others, and not just take advantage of the situation like cruise ships are doing. Take advantage of the situation and benefit from that. So with that in mind, let's dive into Jonathan's story, because Jonathan has a very similar story, even though it didn't start with a virus, right, Jonathan? It just started by getting laid off. And Jonathan will say just yes, and then you'll kick Paul away from the screen. Just say something. Something. The internet is low. Let me see. Jonathan, can you hear me? Here you
Yes, I
are.
can hear you fine. I'm here.
Awesome. So you were let go of your job, um, and before the corona and everything. So you kind of like experienced what a lot of people are experiencing right now, which is like, oh shit, there goes my income. Now what do I do? And you decided not to find a job, but to take a different route. So tell us about that a little bit. What was that experience like?
Sure. So I was 29 years old. I thought I had my dream job. And I finally got into management from 10 years of education. I was working at one of the best universities in the United States, and I was running 6 other teachers in my small department. I said, wow, it's all come together for me. Everything's finally coming up, Jonathan. And over the course of a weekend, I signed a lease on a new apartment with my friend. I bought a new car with the paperwork for my new job. And then I came into work on Monday during a blizzard, and they fired me when I walked in the door.
Oh,
And what I learned, right, I was like, wow, I wish you guys had done this on Friday. It would have been a lot easier. And what I learned is like, when it rains, it pours. And I was like, I'm such a good worker for coming into work in the snowstorm. I could have said I couldn't drive in the blizzard, and I was driving my new car home, and I go, okay, please don't crash on the way home, because that's the only thing that could take this over the top. I can take these other two things, but not a third hit.
right.
And the feeling I wanted from that moment was I didn't want someone else to ever be able to do that to me again. Like, that's what I was trying to escape. I said, I don't want to be powerless again.
Right.
And that's when I began my online journey, was that realizing, because we all have this idea of job security. We say, oh, my boss is looking out for me. My boss is taking care of me. I work for this big company. I'm protected. But we see every 10 years something big happens. All those people in 2008 lost their jobs when the economy shrank. Right now, so many people are losing their jobs, and it's not their fault. That's the worst part, is losing your job and you didn't do anything wrong. You were doing your job right. And I know the people that work for me are going through the exact same thing right now. They're all still doing their jobs, but if our numbers collapse, well, what am I supposed to do? And so they have that same fear. And of course, just as you try to leave that fear with your team, but you have to look out for yourself. Your career is your own business. And when you start to see it that way, you think, okay, if I was running my career like a business, would I really want to be a company that only has one client? And that's the first thought you want to go through, is say, I need to diversify my income streams so that if something goes wrong, I don't drop down to zero. And that's when you start thinking about taking control of your destiny, when you realize that you're the only one who's really looking out for you 100%.
I love that. And you know what's interesting about what you were just saying is that a lot of people are going through that kind of experience. And most of the time, they're more of a deer in the headlights. We're like, I don't even know where to start. Like, right? Up until now, someone gave me a task and I had to finish the task. Now, what is the task? What do I do?
So that's a great question. The first thing that I talk about and I teach in all my books is to assess yourself and look at all of your assets, your skills, your resources, what you have that you can leverage. And what you want to find is what can generate money the fastest and what can generate the largest amount of income. Often it's simply taking what you do in the office and then offering it in the world of freelancing. Consultants and freelancers are paid 3 to 4 times more for the exact same work as in-house employees. So if you're an accountant or a bookkeeper, you can do independent bookkeeping and get paid 3 or 4 times more money per hour. You just have clients that are giving you less hours per month. So maybe you're only working 10 hours per month with each client. But now if one of those clients goes out of business, you don't go out of business. So that's the first thing to think about, is what can I leverage? And it's not just about skills. It could be resources or connections. Maybe you have a nice garage and you don't have a car. Well, you can soundproof it and you can rent it out to local bands. Right. And that's a way to generate money without you having to be there. A lot of people think Airbnb or Uber, but that's selling your time or selling your home. What you want to do is leverage things that are scalable. And so you look for, what asset or skill do I have that I can share with people or rent out for the most money? That's the first step, is to generate that secondary revenue stream. While passive income is the dream and making money while you sleep is the dream, it's a process to get there. And the first step in the process is to take control of how money is coming into your business. And that means figuring out how you can maximize your revenue and then diversify the different places, because it's better to make $900 a month from 10 clients than $1,000 a month from one, because then you have that single point of vulnerability, which is what people are learning right now. When you have a boss, when you work for a company, no matter what, there's always been a single point of vulnerability. And it can be a pandemic, it can be an economic downturn, it can be a change in federal law, or it can just be that the CEO of your company embezzles and everyone loses their job. There's so many things outside of your control that what we look for is first is single points of failure, and we want to remove that danger. So that way you're diversified. And that's the real meaning of diversification, that if one income stream disappears, you lose 10% or 5% of your income, not all of your income.
That's awesome. So Jonathan, can you just explain for me and our audience, I love everything you just said, and just to help, I'm real concrete, right? So like, can you give us the short version of How did you do that from going from the job you lost to that next place? Like you said, you ran a department basically with people, and then you went in this other direction. How did you figure that out according to what you just told us we need to think about?
Sure. So what I did, my journey started with, I bought a course on how to sell local video marketing services. I had no idea what I was doing. I knew nothing, but I knew how to sell. So I know how to chat and have a sale. And so I started posting ads on Craigslist. And I said, let me do marketing for your ad. And I posted and my website was terrible. It was black background with dark blue writing. So basically you couldn't read it. And I posted an ad on Craigslist, and I got my first check on 4 days or 5 days later. So I posted an ad on Saturday, got handed a check for $200 on Thursday. And I go, wow, this is magical. And what I was selling was my time. So what I would do is I would go with people to their businesses. I would shoot videos with them. Then I would edit those videos, and I would upload them to, like, this back when before YouTube was dominant. This is how old I am. So I'd be uploading videos to like Dailymotion, who people probably don't know that still exists, like Dailymotion and all these other like 20 sites. And so if you would search for a business, like if you would type like Nashville massage therapist, this was a Nashville car dealer, all the results would be videos that I had done for these clients. So what I was selling was a massive amount of my time. I was going and personally meeting with people, providing local services. Is something else you can do, right? If you can just become the middleman between small businesses and the internet, because a lot of people they know they need a website, but they don't know why. And so I would just post ads, and I don't know if this still works as much. I got all my clients from Craigslist. I would post ads on Craigslist all the time. I would just post picker ads, and that's how I started to get a reputation or started to get clients. I was just really proactive, and I would go to meetups from like meetup.com, and I would go to any type of event where I knew there were small business owners, and I would just pass out business cards. And my business card only had my phone number on it. I didn't have my name or what my business was. And people were like, well, how am I going to remember who you are? I said, if you don't remember who I am, don't call me. So they would always remember who I am because I came off as super pretentious. But I saw that in an episode of The X-Files, and I always thought it was so cool. Like, oh, when you're a spy, your card doesn't have your name on it. And so I would pass them out like that, not because it was a brilliant business strategy, right? I just saved money on the printing. But it turned out that when people called me, they really needed my service. So people would remember the one guy who didn't put anything else on his card. And that's how I started to create an impression. But it really was, I was just selling my time. I would drive to people's businesses. I was meeting at Panera a lot because they have free Wi-Fi. Sometimes I'd meet at Starbucks, but mostly it was Panera. And I would meet with clients all over the city, drive 30 minutes to an hour, all over Nashville where I was living at the time. It was really being proactive. It was going, I'll meet with these people. I'll promise whatever it takes to close the deal. I had to learn over time to control what you promise. But if you figure out something that you can sell or figure out a service that you can offer, like, okay, I'll shoot videos with you. I'll follow the structure. I was going through a training course, and I just really implemented. And I know most people, what we do is we see tons of ideas, and we just want to dabble with all of them. You just have to pick one and follow it to fruition. It does. Almost every online business model works if you stick to it for a really long time. So you have to find something that you can see yourself doing for a long time. And I did that for about 2 years, was just selling local SEO and video marketing services in Nashville.
So did you?
So that's like what Gary Vaynerchuk always talks to people when people come up to him and they're always asking him for advice. And I love that Jonathan's hit this, like, and so often they're like, I did this thing for like 2 weeks and it didn't work. And he's like, you got to be patient, right? We always want a quicker return on our efforts than is really reasonable. And so I love that you pointed that out as part of your story, is like, this was not some amazing, and in a month I was rich, right?
But you know why? Because internet marketers, that's the promise, that's the dream, It's like, look at that. I just did this one webinar, and all of a sudden I woke up with $10 million in the bank. And I'm not going to tell you about the affiliates that I paid and the ads that I spent and all that other stuff, right?
Right.
So there's a lot of smoke and mirrors that are happening, which is why we are here with The Naked Truth. Tell you all about it. So Jonathan, a lot of people, like you said, pick a model and go with it because it works. Something that you can stick with. And second, Scott is here. Shout out from Nashville. Scott Bechtel. Hi, Scott. So pick something that works. But what if, a lot of businesses fail because there's no market for their product? Do you ever go and just talk to people and figure out, okay, most people need X. I know how to do X, so I know someone who can do X. Let me introduce them to that someone and get a cut, or let me figure out how to do this and give it to them, or do you go like, oh, I just love doing it, Y, let me try do Y and see who likes to do Y with me?
That's a good question.
So if you're in a specific situation where whatever you're selling, people stop buying it, then you do have to pivot. And that's what a lot of businesses have to do. So you'll go through iterations. Like it took me multiple business models to get to my current business model by doing a lot of research. And the best thing you can do is see what the market wants. Mm-hmm. So a lot of times, I've taught a lot of people follow me because I've written a lot of books, and they say, oh, I want to write, Jonathan, I'm going to write a book about dealing with pandemics, a children's book about elephants, and a book about my marriage. And I said, why did you choose those 3 topics? No one's going to read all 3 of those books, right? And so, but they go, oh, that's what I really want to write about it. And so some people are just driven by an idea without doing market research, and those always end up crashing against a wall. What you have to do is take your passion, your ideas, and wrap it within the barriers or the constructs of what the market actually wants. So it begins with looking at, what does the market want? Where's their opportunity? And how can I put my passion or my desire within that structure? If you set up a business selling something nobody wants, there's nothing that will fix that, right? You can't force the market to want it. The thing I always say is the market's a democracy. Your customers get to vote with their wallets. If they don't vote for your product, your service, or how passionate you are. So there has to, while passion is good and that's a part of the process, there has to be a reason or objectivity wrapped around it that says, okay, there's a reason we're doing this. And we know that the market needs this type of item. Now I can create my version of that I'm excited by.
So I love what you said about listening and pivoting, like not just taking something and just running with it until you're out of money, out of breath, and out of everything else, right? And especially nowadays, everybody's pivoting. Everybody has to adapt. Otherwise, business is not going to survive. Like Philip is showing in the research, the messages of yesterday's are not working today. So let's talk about like the different business models and what people can pick from. Like what's out there for them to enjoy.
Sure. There's some of the most common business models are like drop shipping, which is where you buy stuff, you find stuff that's really cheap in China, you resell it in America from like an e-commerce store or from Amazon. Also really popular is like running Facebook ads and buying traffic and reselling it, either as like recommending affiliate products or recommending your own products, or doing trainings that way. Those are really popular business models. They're fast. I'm really a big believer in selling services. That's a great place to get started, is figure out what I can offer, then sell it. And you can just join Upwork or other freelancing platforms to start getting clients, and over time move off of those platforms. I'm a big believer that you can figure out what you want to do. You know what? I want to be Instagram superstar. I want to master Instagram. So what you do is you find a bunch of people in your area, say, let me run your Instagram account. And you just start out small, start out charging people $100, $200 a month. You get yourself 10 clients. Now you have a little bit of a buffer. And you then use that money to buy training on how to master Instagram. So the business model itself isn't as important as the process. And the process is figure out what you want to do, find people that will pay you to learn how to do it, and learn how to do it. So maybe you're servicing 10 client accounts and then your Instagram account at the same time. So you actually get paid to learn and master the process. That's really the secret. When you're getting paid to do something, then you're actually going to go through the course. You know how so many people, they say, oh, like you mentioned, they go, oh, I did a course for 2 weeks and gave up. If someone else was paying you to go through that course, you wouldn't quit. So that adds that extra motivation, and it allows you to go across the journey, and you're not upside down. The big mistake people make is treating business as a hobby. When you start to think of it as a business, you go, every dollar in, I want $1 out or more, then you'll approach everything differently and go, what's the best way for me to generate revenue fast? How can I get revenue from what I'm doing? And there are loads of things that you can master, whether it's blogging or podcasting or videos or social networks. There are so many services and opportunities online. And if you look at your local community, now is the absolute best time for you to approach local businesses, because now their only opportunity is through these services. An example of this is that my project management manager, her computer stopped working yesterday. And she goes, I need to buy a new computer. How can I find out which local stores are still open?
Right.
Through my phone, right? How could I do that research? And so the local stores that had their websites up and that she could place an order from, guess who got the sale? So the people that were ahead of the curve, you might say, oh, I'm a local computer store, I don't need to have a website because people are just going to shop on Amazon. Guess what? That's not how people are thinking. People go, I want this today. I don't want a robot showing up at my window. I want to be able to go get it and come back quick, do a quick mission. So there's actually more opportunity now than ever before for services. While most companies are shrinking, everyone's losing their job. I just hired a new person about an hour ago because I need more digital services. So this actually is not the end of an economy. It's a shift in the economy where people are realizing, you know what, I want to move into something that is adaptable and recession proof and that doesn't have a single point of failure, so that when things go wrong, I can keep going and adapting. And the beauty is not that you're mastering Instagram or one social media platform, it's you're mastering the ability to learn and adapt, because Instagram might disappear, right? There were all those people that were experts at MySpace. That was my first social media network. That's gone. They became experts at Vine. That disappeared. So it's not the specific thing you learn. It's the ability to master a craft by doing the research and then moving to something else. That's where you become really, really invincible online.
And I can attest to that because I mastered Google Plus, my little avatar right here, built my entire brand on, on Google Plus, teaching, being the expert, all that jazz. And then Google wakes up one morning and says, don't feel like doing this anymore, right? So it didn't die like MySpace, but it died a different, more horrible death because we were just murdered. But you have to adapt, right? So you have to shift. So I'm like, what am I great at? Like, what was fantastic at Google Plus that I am very, very good at? And that was engagement and conversations and actually bringing people together and creating an environment where everybody feels like it's an experience and they want more of it. And that converts into conversions and money for my clients. And here we are with another model that is very similar, just not on Google Plus, which is why, just a reminder, don't build your home on rented properties. I need to have a little like those dots that are coming. Like, don't build your home on rented properties because you never know. And so it sounds like, Jonathan, what you're saying is that you're saying have more clients paying you, like make $900 from 10 people and not $1,000 from one person. Sounds to me like you're talking about a community and a membership, or are you talking about something different type of model?
So I'm actually talking about just when you're doing services, right? So let's say, we talked about a different examples. Let's say that you're a graphic designer and you work in-house for a company. It's so magical. And right now, guess what? Your company's shrinking. They're no longer doing print advertisements because the store has to close because of the pandemic. They're stuck. What you can do is go online and find 10 clients. And that, instead of finding one client that just replaces your entire income, which is another job, you want to start by diversifying so you have multiple income streams. So the way I do this, even now in my business, I still do clients, I still do some services, I still do some consulting in addition to selling products. So I'm constantly looking at diversification so that if one thing slows down, the other things can still succeed. That's where you start to think about future proofing. And this is talked about a great deal in the book Black Swan, where he said no one thought black swans existed, that a boat went to Australia and they saw black swans. They go, oh, I guess these exist. In the same way, we don't know what's going to happen. We just know that there are surprises and bad things happen, usually about every 10 years, right? Like the last economic downturn was 2008. So it's been 12 years. But I know before 2030, we'll have another different thing happen, whether it's a housing crisis or something with government stuff or another disease. So we know bad things happen. And it's not that we can predict and prepare for a specific bad thing. It's that we can prepare for surprises or market shocks or things that we weren't prepared for. And the way we do that is by diversifying, first of all, our clients or our revenue streams. So the more you get different checks from different places, the more you're protected against those surprises. So our first instinct when we say, oh, I lost my job, is to find a new job. It doesn't solve the problem. It's a short-term solution for a long-term problem. Yeah, you have a new boss, but then when something happens, then you lose that job. You have to start over and repeat again and again and again. And you're not in control of your destiny. It's only when you say, I'm going to take control and I'm going to do other things to fill in the gap. If I lose my job, well, I'm going to keep looking for another job. That's absolutely fine. But at the same time, I'm going to start doing consulting and part-time work so I have revenue coming in so that my expertise can drive income even while I'm in between jobs. And not everyone needs to quit their job and work online full-time, but I think everyone should have at least 10% of the revenue coming in from a backup source so that if anything does happen, then you're always protected. And for most of us, a 10% shift in our income is a dramatic change in our lifestyle. It's the difference between increasing your debt and increasing your savings every month. So the more you begin to think about yourself as a business and you begin to think, okay, if I was a business and I had one client, would I be safe? No. Nobody wants to be a business's only client, because then if anything happens, then you lose that vendor. So on both sides, both sides want every single vendor to have multiple clients. So that way the vendor doesn't go under if something goes slow, or if there's a downturn. So it really is about thinking of yourself as a business and trying to generate, rather than just one replacement client, which is a new job, but 10 clients or 20 clients, so that your revenue comes from diversified sources. So if you have one client who's a toy store and one client who's a website and another client who's a grocery store, well, guess what? Grocery store businesses are through the roof right now. So even though you might lose the toy store because no one's going to toy stores right now because we're all thinking about survival, your grocery store client might have more work for you. And that's how you protect yourself against surprises, is by this type of diversification.
I love what you're saying, Jonathan, about the difference between diversifying clients versus diversifying services. I think that that's something that a lot of people don't talk about. And I see in my own industry right now, hypnotism, that I see a lot of my colleagues who are feeling the crunch of decreased client sessions. And so their first instinct is, well, if I offer more stuff, right? So they're like, well, I did do weight loss and smoking, but now if I try to add anxiety and sleep improvement as well. So then they go from having a core set that they were pretty good at, to now they've got twice as many services that they offer, but they don't have ways to really attract those clients. You know what I mean? So they end up, it feels to me like a lot of people in my profession they're spreading themselves too thin in an attempt to diversify services, when instead they could stick with what they know they're good at and diversify their clients. Does that make sense?
Yeah, you're exactly right. So the first instinct people have whenever there's something bad happens is either to lower prices or to add more services. And is someone calls in, let's say, talk about hypnotism, no problem. Someone calls in and says, hey, I'm having some problems. Well, what can you fix me with? And they go, I can fix you with A, B, C, D, E. And they go, oh man, that's so many. Let me think about it and I'll call you back. When you offer too many choices, people get into a state of they're worried about making the wrong decision. It's the same thing if you start offering lots of different complicated packages. Like one of the gyms near me, what they've done is you have to pay a flat fee to be a member, and then it's different prices for each different type of workout you do in each different session. So guess what? No one joins that gym. It's too confusing. Yeah. The only exception to this rule that everyone thinks about is Cheesecake Factory, because their menu is so long and has commercials in it. But most restaurants, when they, whenever you watch those shows where they come in and fix the restaurant, the first thing they do is they go, your menu's too complicated. And that's really true. When you go to a restaurant and there's just 5 choices, you don't spend as long reading the menu, which means you order faster, which means you have more turnover. So if you're really a specialist at certain things, what you really want to do is double down on your expertise and go, hey, this is what makes me special. This is why we're the best. And yeah, it is about diversifying your clients. It's much easier to do. When you diversify services, you run into the risk of you're going to offer things you're not as good at. You're going to spend more time delivering them. This is the same thing I ran into. When I was running my local business, I was doing video and SEO services. I said, oh, I should start adding these other services. Oh, we'll help you with SMS marketing or Facebook marketing, things I wasn't as much of an expert at, which means I would have to bring in other experts. So my cost and my time management went way up when I started offering those services. And if I said, oh, we have 14 packages to choose from, clients would never buy anything. I had much more success when I would tell clients only about one of my 3 packages and it was a yes or no. So it is tempting to adapt to markets in a scramble fashion, which goes, oh, I need to drop my prices, right? That's the first thought everyone has. And I hear this all the time. That's what everyone's saying right now. But you have your hard costs. If you drop your prices, you can drop them low enough that your business becomes unsustainable, which some people are doing right now in the hopes of staying open just long enough to last through however long businesses are closed. What you want to do is widen your customer base and widen what your offerings are. So if your expertise is hypnotism, then what you can do is start to look for partnerships. So you could say, okay, you know what? I'm going to partner with other people that are really focused. Like right now, all the gyms are in trouble. And one of my friends, he has a client in the gym space. And so what they do a whole bunch of home workouts. That's what you got. I'm working out at home like crazy right now because I don't know how this is going to turn out, but my wife loves to watch horror movies. So we've seen The Purge a few times. I'm like, okay, if it's going to go Purge, I need to be ready. So I'm trying to get prison strong. I'm upstairs, like lifting weights every single day, like doing them squats, I'm nailing nails into a baseball bat, like trying to get ready. And that's my motivation. So you can change what you offer to match what the market needs and go, okay, people need at-home hypnosis. People need at-home, weight loss, all these things. So you can partner with other services, which gives you access to a larger client base. And those are things you can provide and create to match what the market needs. It is really, really tempting to go, I need to offer a whole bunch of things. An example of this is when freelancers send you a resume and it lists, I'm really good at video editing, I'm really good at social media, I'm really good at SEO, I'm really good at writing blog posts. I never hire those people because I need something for one specific task. So specialists get paid more even in a down market. When my son was 18 months old, we had to get surgery. We didn't go to a general surgeon. We went to a specialist.
Right.
Guess what? It was a lot more expensive, but that's what you do. Specialists always make more than general practitioners. So even though it is a little bit scary to see like some of your clients disappear, like the need isn't disappearing. All that's doing is the market is shifting, and there's enough people out there. You know, the economy hasn't stopped. Everyone thinks that the whole world economy's died. It's gone down like 4%. So that means for every dollar everyone was spending last week, they're spending 94 cents this week. It's not zero. It's the fear or the temptation to overreact is what's causing more problems than anything else. That's why in all these surveys, everyone's more worried about the economy than they are about catching the virus.
Right.
Because that affects you immediately, right? Like I'm not allowed to leave my house. Where I live, there's not a single case on my entire island. And yet I'm not allowed to go to the grocery store. I'm not allowed to go to the doctor. I'm not allowed to go across the street to the beach. Even if I have no one within 100 meters of me, they'll arrest me. So it's this massive overreaction that everyone is doing. It's like there's this arms race to see who could put people under the most draconian conditions. Remember, my island, they've tested everyone, 0 cases. There's no reason for us to be under lockdown. And yet they're doing it, because it's basically just, political mismanagement. But that affects how we all think. Whereas I don't know anyone with the virus because, again, no one on my island has the virus. So people are reacting and thinking in that way. And that means it's a temptation to overreact or overcorrect. And instead, what you just want to do is go, okay, diversify my income streams, diversify my clients. Over time, you can diversify your offerings by having low and expensive offerings. But you'll have people that, to them, your prices are nothing. You know, if someone calls you and they're a billionaire, they don't care if your price is $100 or $5,000. To them, it doesn't matter. So you're still going to get those clients that will pay your top number because they just want the best. There are a lot of people now, and you're talking about how everyone's looking for online jobs and looking for how to make money online. The searches for make money online and work from home are like this right now. So even though people are spending less per person, the massive increase in the number of people at home looking for ways to make money from home means the market is growing. People just aren't realizing it yet.
Super interesting. We're going to open it up for questions. Stuart, you're next. Just one more question before we go there. How do you find the time to work with all different clients? Because if I know how to bake souffle, then that's all I need to know. And now if I'm baking souffle, I don't know, more Mexican souffle and Italian souffle and something like that, now I need to learn 3 different things. How do you find the time to do all that stuff?
Okay, that's a great question. So that's why the first thing I said is it's better to diversify your clients than your offerings, because that is harder. If you're offering a whole bunch of different types of souffles, then you have to go through a different process for each one, and it's harder to scale.
Right. So you're saying, so you're saying like instead of finding 3 different types of souffle, find different people who like souffle, right? Like if before I only extend it to blondes, now blondes and brunettes, or blondes and men, or blondes and motorcycle lovers, or something like that. And it's the same souffle, and more people are buying it.
Yeah, it's a lot easier to offer the same thing to different clients than to offer different things to different clients.
Right.
When you go through this process, the first phase is just get as many clients as you can for what you're good at. The second phase is learning how to separate a good client from a bad client.
Yep.
So what I learned over my experience is that the clients who paid me the most money never wanted to talk to me. I had one client who was like a massive land developer. The cheapest piece of land they were selling was $1.5 million. At the time, they were paying me $2,000 a month. The guy goes, look, you do your job, you're never going to hear from me. He goes, technically, if I call you on the phone, I'm losing money. I can't afford to talk to you because the price difference in our time is the value is so different. Wow. So that was my favorite client because we spoke on the phone once. The first day we worked together and the last when I closed the business. Yeah. Because
that's awesome.
Whereas my client was paying, then I have a client paying me if someone is paying you their last $100 or their last $500 every month, then you get this sense of desperation and they'll call you all the time. I used to have clients who would call me 30 days out of 30 days of the month. And I was like, this is killing me because I'm spending my time talking to you and unruffling your feathers rather than delivering the service that you want. They're like, why am I not getting more clients? I'm like, because you won't let me work on your job. So you do go through phases where you learn and get better and better at this process, because at first you won't do any discrimination amongst your clients. You'll take whoever will hire you. You can start adding extra services, but every time you do that, it will slow you down because you either have to learn how to deliver them or find someone else that you can get to deliver them for you. All those things become problems and challenges. Right. You really want to focus on offering something that's easy for you or that's your maximum leverage point, like something where you get paid the most per hour. That's what you choose. You go, if I'm good at these 10 things, this one pays the most per hour, just focus on that one. That's the easiest place to start. And if you give really good value, as long as you're generating more revenue than you're costing, then people will give you more hours and you'll get more clients.
Gotcha. So, Stuart, let's unmute you, buddy. Hi, how are you?
I'm doing reasonably well. If you want to be socially isolated, live 20 miles out in the desert, and have a broke down car. So I am truly socially isolated. Yeah. I wanted to ask, because I wasn't here at the very beginning of the show, what island are you on, sir? I'm afraid my broadband
Jonathan,
may be.
What island are you on? He has bad internet connection, so.
Is that Hawaii or?
No, he's in the Philippines.
Oh, well.
Philippines. Jonathan, can you hear us?
I don't have anything to say about that then. The other thing that I thought was your comment about learning as you go. I have found to be useful in the past, to pick a topic, get read up on it, and then just, I don't know, jump in the 8-foot end of the pool and figure out how to get to the service. Is it your point to find a client prior to thinking of yourself as the professional for the area? In other words, get your first client, and then you got something going.
Absolutely. So the very first business I built online that made any money was selling local services, which was search engine optimization and video search engine optimization. Basically saying, I'll help you rank in Google and YouTube searches. And I knew hard zero about it. I knew nothing. What I knew was that if I got that money, I could afford to buy a course and the software I needed to start learning. So it creates this impetus, this motivation behind you when you're spending someone else's money. You go, I got to really do this. I got to put in those hours, because also it feels real. When you're studying something and hoping that you'll make money, you're in a very different mindset than when you're actually getting paid to study and learn and become an expert at something. This is why so many people go to college and kind of mess around. But if people the people who get a master's degree or a business degree and their job is paying for it, they work 10 times harder because it's someone else's money, because they're already getting paid for it, because they know they'll get a raise as soon as they finish it. That means that the reward at the end goes from ephemeral or like imaginary or hope into something concrete. So if you say to someone, hey, I want you to do this 9-month training, and when you finish it, I'll double your salary, they're going to work 10 times harder than the person who goes and takes that training and hopes they'll get a raise.
Yeah, I get your point. And Yifat, I've watched you go through, just in this latest iteration, a series of changes to your business. Have you found that to be consistently useful on an upward trend?
So, it's very interesting, because what happened to me is that I've been preaching everything that's happening right now. I'm like, connection, trust, build a relationship with people, use Zoom to connect and not to broadcast. And it was just falling on deaf ears, right? So for years, I'm kind of like, come on, guys, connect, use the internet to find like-minded people across the globe. Let's bridge geographical barriers, right? And just meet each other and connect. And everybody's like, la, 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 la. And now finally, everybody is stuck at home. So what do? Gary Vaynerchuk goes live every day and just connects with people. He doesn't have presentations. He doesn't have slideshow, nothing, right? Not a talk. Come on in, I'll talk to you. Roland Frazier did exactly the same thing. Did a Zoom, interviewed people, answered questions, turned that into a business model. So people are finally starting to learn, like, okay, what she's talking about is actually working, and maybe we should give it a try. And now, because she's been talking about this for so long, we know she knows what she's talking about. So now let's work with her. So it has been a while, and it felt like forever and a day. It felt like I was talking to the void. Like, nobody understands me. I'm like the only lunatic in the house.
No, there was two of us. There was two of us.
Yeah. Yeah. And we're just like, like, why don't you get this? So it was the hardest thing to kind of like just weather the storm. And then I had to sit back and remember, Google Plus didn't happen overnight. It did take a year, to develop Hangouts and Hangouts on Air, and we have shared everything. So there is this time where from learning to being to practicing to preaching to actually knowing what you're talking about, there's time that passes. And people get to know you and they actually trust you, and they start recommending you and featuring you. So there's a whole process. It doesn't happen overnight. It just feels like, forever in a day. So I completely agree with what Jonathan is saying. Like, pick one thing that you see the market needs and figure out how to deliver that, and then just stick with it. And after money comes in, now figure out, okay, the market needs something else. How do I diversify? Now I was only lawyers. How do I do accountants, lawyers and accountants? Because I think, you do need money to scale, but you didn't need money at the beginning just, to feed yourself, right?
Well, I think there's some possibilities out there that I remembered, frankly, today. I'd been focusing on something else, and now I've been knife fighting with every federal agency in the world. But I had an idea pop back in my head with a few variations based on what was said here today. So
Awesome.
Thank you to you both, and I'll check out here because I always talk too much.
It's awesome. And Diane, I don't see your microphone. Can you? I think you said you're here, but I don't see your microphone. And you look lovely today. It'll be great to answer your questions. And Perlan is here. I hope I'm pronouncing it right. Paul, tell me how you pronounce it. Oh, why are you muted, man? Unmute yourself. Yes, you can.
Oh, did you mute me? You muted me after I unmuted myself.
No. So how do you pronounce this lovely lady?
I tend to say Perlan, but I think really it's Perlan, and we should ask Perlan herself, because I've known her for years, and I've never even thought about how I always say Perlan, but
she never
it
corrects
might be
you,
Perlan.
huh? She never corrects.
Where is she?
So she says hi on Facebook. So Perlan, hopefully hop on in Viral Connectivity and let us know how to pronounce your name so we don't murder it. And Diane, maybe you need to hop in and hop out so your microphone.
Diane's got no microphone.
Yeah, let's get
No
your microphone working. And there's another guest here. If you want to say, he just says me. So me, if you want to talk.
Mysterious.
Me, if you have a question.
Like, is it me?
Is it me? Is it
Someone? I get confused. I don't know.
It's
You
someone.
know, your earlier comments, Ifat, about the messaging you've been doing made me think about how I go back every now and then and I revisit Dale Carnegie's How to Win Friends and Influence People.
Yep.
And I mean, that book is old, and it is as you're almost like messaging the same thing, the same thematic things that he put in that book all that time ago. And yet we still need that book, because what he really fleshes out in that book is this idea that we're so often more, it's just, I guess, how humans are. Like, we're more concerned with ourselves than with others. And so we tend to talk more about what we have to offer first, rather than asking people what they need. Right. Like
Right.
It's all of those kind of like natural yet backward models in terms of how you would want to help your business along.
Right. When my son comes back and says, "Hey, how do I get paid?" and I'm like, "Figure out what I want." Done. Right? Figure out what I'm willing to pay for, and then come and say, "Hey, I'll do it," and then we can negotiate the price. But not
Yeah.
like, "Hey, I'll do this," and I'm like, "I don't care about that." Right? He's like, "Pay me." I'm like, "What for? I don't want it." So it's very interesting. Like, I keep going. I'm like, listen to problems. That's one of the things that I always tell my clients is like, become a problem seeker. Like, you are going around the internet and going like, what are people complaining about? And the internet, people are just freely complaining about everything under the sun. This is their way to unload, right? So if you're looking for problems, you will find them online. So decide like, hey, I think I can solve global warming. Go into Facebook and LinkedIn and everywhere else, right? And just look for the problems where people are complaining about not being able to solve this topic. And then just reach out and say, hey, can I have this idea. Can I help you with that? One person will say yes. Now you have a case study. And then you'll take it from there. Is that how you did that, Jonathan?
Yeah, I look for opportunity.
Yep.
So the more you talk to your audience, the more you say, and this could be, if you don't have an audience, you start by looking at what they're talking about, what their biggest problem is, what gets the most, like which post gets the most view on Facebook, or which thread on a forum has the most replies. That tells you what people are thinking about, what they're interested in. Even more than that, I look to see what are people spending money on, what services are still active right now, or what who's thriving. What I want to find is not just an area of interest, but also an area where people are willing to pay to solve the problem. So those are the two things that I look for, but it is really communicating with people and saying, what do you need right now? And any way you can find the answer to that question, like the core of my business is find out what people want and give it to them.
Yep.
So the more you have paths to finding that answer, the easier it is to succeed. I had a friend a few years ago who wrote a book on how to quit vaping. And I was like, wow, you're ahead of the curve because everyone's just starting vaping now. And maybe in 20 years, it'll be a massive success, but it was the wrong time. I said, why did you get this idea? Did you do any research? He goes, no, it just sounded like a good idea to me. And that's why the book has probably sold 0 copies. I know at the time it had sold 0. So
what
anytime we do without research.
What is it?
Vaping, he said. You thought, you know, the vaping?
Yeah. Gotcha. I don't smoke. Yeah, so you find a problem. So then, Jonathan, you also have a system. You changed the name for it, so I don't remember it. But you have a system that helps people help other people, right? What is that system?
Yeah, so my core belief model, my business model that I'm really into for the last few years and what's been helping me grow my business most is called Extreme Giving. And it's the idea of out competing everyone else in my market by offering more value earlier. For a long time, I'm an author, so I used to say, hey, if you want to read a word, you got to pay for a word.
Right.
And that means everything, all of my content was hidden behind paywalls, and you couldn't really learn about me until you bought one of my books, which limited my growth. My business was growing really slowly. But when I said, you know what, let me try something else. Let me try out delivering everyone else. Let me start giving away books for free. If you sign up for 1 PDF, you get 2. If you email me, I'll write you back an email that's twice as long. If you call me, if you want to do a coaching call for an hour, I give an hour and 15 minutes. So over delivering is the core principle. And an example of this is sometimes I participate in events where everyone includes a product. It's like, because, I do these for charity, especially. And I did one last year for charity to raise money for schools. I forget where, but it was like a, schools in poor country charity. I said, yeah, I'll put a product in there and I'll mail my list and we'll promote it. And I got all these complaints. They say everyone else just included coupons or really garbage gifts. Yours was the only good one. And so what happens is all these other people send their customers to the page and then they all become fans of me because I gave them the most value. Right. So I always try to outcompete in the form of giving. If everyone else is giving something worth $10, I want to give something worth 20 because I see the value in relationship. I'm not really looking for the quick sale. I'm looking for the bare minimum. Like, how many sites have you visited and you give your email address for the free gift and what you get is garbage? Right. Or it's, well, no, garbage is the best word. 99% of the time. An example is someone I follow. They said, oh, enter your email address today and we'll give you this guide on how to hire writers and what you should pay them in the pricing guide and this whole thing. I really need that because I need to hire new writers for my website. Well, guess what? The guide didn't include that at all. The guide included nothing except for talking about the idea of hiring writers and how writers are cool, and then a link to a list of all the writers that have been through their program. And I went to all their writers' websites, and none of the writers have their prices. And I go, oh, I see. You teach your writers to not tell the price so you can do a negotiation. So that way, you charge everyone a different price. I don't want to do that. So I was really disappointed. It really affected how I perceive someone who I've been following, I bought a course from. If you give away something that's not worth what you're charging for it, even if it's free, all you're doing is damaging yourself. The idea of the bare minimum is so prevalent in our society, so prevalent online. It's what 99% of internet marketers do. Yep. They go, oh, join my newsletter, or, oh, come visit my website. I'll give you this free gift. And you get it. And you're like, no one would ever pay for this. If your first thought when you get a free gift is no one would ever pay for this, then that's a problem. Right. So most of the time you go to my website or you follow my mailing list, I'll give away most of my books for free. You go to Amazon or any bookstore and buy them for $10. People do all day long. So because I give something that's for sale somewhere else, there's actually a concrete or anchored value. No one wonders. Right. If you write something that's you're only giving away, then you write it with that in mind, and you'll often put the value will be too low. And when you switch to this mindset of extreme giving, you'll start to change everything you do. Like this year, I'm running on a massive campaign. And this is all about, so everyone's really worried about adapting to the COVID change. When my business is changing, I go, you know what, let's just focus on giving as much as we can and just growing our following. So we're really, really focused rather than on monetization, on growth, because we know that this will pass. This is not a permanent economic downturn. We're still making sales. The business is still running. If everyone last month was spending $1 and this month they're spending 50 cents, we just have to double our following and our income will stay the same. So we're really, really focused on giving away more stuff, creating more gifts, keep doing more podcast episodes, doing more blog posts, doing more free books, doing more promotions, doing more events. The more ways we can give value, then the faster my business grows. And when I switched from, my old mindset of you have to pay to hear what I have to say to let me give away as much as I can, let me hide nothing, my revenue 10x'd in 10 months. So it was like revolutionary for me, and it's still continuing to grow. Even now, our business is growing. It's just on a slower growth trajectory. So now we complain when we have a month like we had last November, we go, oh, we haven't doubled since last month. What is going on? Like our definition inside my team has dramatically changed because we're used to extreme growth because we practice extreme giving in every way that we can.
Yeah, I love that. And guys, if you want to tap into what Jonathan is doing, I'm going to share my monitor and show you where you can grab that. So on viralconnectivity.com/live is what I'm sharing the screen with you right now. This is where we are right now. And you see we have live now replays where you can catch all our replays. Look at that, Paul. We're rocking it. And right here we have free resources that you can come in and pick. So 4 easy ways of getting raving fans, $10 of StreamYard. This is Paul's Bright Idea Training. And this is Jonathan's recession-proof business model. You can click here and you can grab it. So we have Diane's video microphone working. Let me unmute you. Hey, lady. No, I can still hear you. Why can I not hear you? Your microphone is on, but we can't hear you. Maybe it's the wrong microphone. Try again and we'll see if we get it. So tell us a little bit. So extreme giving, this is your business model. If anyone wants that, viralconnectivity.com/live. You'll see that it says Hydra, but you've changed the name. So you need to update that on the page over there.
Well, Hydra is the overarching theory. So that's a great question. So I call it Hydra Extreme Giving. That's the full name. So the first principle is extreme giving. The way you turn it into a business is the Hydra approach, which goes, I'm going to diversify my extreme giving. The reason I call it that is the Hydra, if you know me, all my kids have mythological names. My dogs have mythological names. And so my business has a mythological name. The Hydra was a dragon with 3 heads. If you cut one head off, 2 heads would go in its place. And the reason I call it that is that it's super adaptable. Like when everyone else is freaking out, the sky's falling, we're going out of business, there's a pandemic, the economy's dead, we're going to have to, bat down the hatches, fire everyone on the team, and just try to wait for the economy to come back in 6 months. That's one mindset. With the Hydra mindset, you go, okay, how can we readapt? So an example is, let's say you're getting all of your traffic from one single place. You go, I need to adapt and open up more revenue streams. And so Hydra, what we can do is adapt to any situation. The overall business model is, okay, if people are not able to spend high money, then we diversify into low money. Yeah, that's a beautiful picture of a Hydra. And you go, okay.
I like that too, yeah.
I need to open up multiple revenue streams. And it is that idea of being unkillable. So for example, a year ago, 95% of my audience found me through Amazon, and now it's less than 5%. Because I pivoted away from that. I said, okay, I have the ability to constantly pivot. So I can launch books. I don't even need to launch a book on Amazon anymore because I can launch it in other ways. That's why I'm on all the different bookstores. Now I'm in Google Play, I'm in iBooks, and I sell books directly from my website. It's this mindset that goes, okay, extreme giving is the first part. Give, give, give. The second part is turning into a business, which becomes a Hydra business, which goes, okay, I want to open up multiple branches. I'm going to open up multiple revenue streams, multiple paths of attack. I'm going to offer up multiple products and multiple types of services. So that's why I still do client services. I have a couple of clients that hopefully will send me payments this week so that I can pay my team out of accounts receivable instead of out of the business savings account. So what we look for is, how can I make sure that I'm massively diversified? So the different heads of the Hydra are the diversification. So I have money from consulting, I have money from services, I have money from products, and I have money from the membership side. By having those different revenue streams means even if one head gets hit, maybe consulting disappears, well, that's okay because we still have those other revenue streams. So that's how we combine what I talked about earlier, which was diversification, with extreme giving. When you bring them together, you create the Hydra.
I like that. It sounds really good. We are out of time. Diane, can we hear you? No, we can't hear you. We need to work on Zoom. That's a bummer. Do you have a question? Do you want me to communicate? Yeah, just type it in the comments and we'll get that. And so we are off for tomorrow, and then Sunday is Easter. Paul, what are you gonna do for Easter? You are unmuted. Oh,
Don't touch my mute button, if not.
don't touch my mute, woman.
I have no
button.
Easter plans, actually. I have no Easter plans. I will probably be splitting firewood. It is snowing here in New Hampshire as we spend this time together. And so I've burnt all my firewood, and I'm finding I still need firewood. So I'll probably be out splitting firewood.
All right, Jonathan, are you celebrating Easter?
Yeah, we're gonna do everything at home, of course, since we're not allowed to leave.
Right.
So we'll do an Easter egg hunt in the yard with the kids and stuff. I have a lot of kids, so I've got 3 kids. Number 4 is on the way. We got 3 dogs and a
Oh,
cat.
wow.
So we're in a perpetual state of keep the kids entertained so they get tired so they don't turn on us.
No way.
That's really our focus right now. We're in a state of survival inside the house.
Yeah, I hear that. Diane, last chance. See if we got you.
Oh, she's passing.
No.
Hey, Jonathan, thanks so much. You were awesome today, man. It was you brought us a lot of stuff to think about. That was great. Thank you.
Well, guys, thanks for having me. It's always good to be here. Sorry that Zoom is going crazy today. I know that that's one of the things we're learning to adapt is that everything's changing. Zoom's getting way more attention, so the servers can't keep up. So then we go, okay, how do we adapt to that? That's just the next lesson we have to learn.
Yeah, and actually, Paul and I'm kind of like pulling Paul's hair and trying to convince him to try this other service. I know, that's why you're bald, aren't you, Paul? It's like all of it. I just took it all out. And this is why I'm trying to test a new service. Maybe Monday we'll try to test it out and see if that works. Hopefully, we'll see. And if so, we'll share it with you because you'll help us test it out. So until then, have a fantastic Easter weekend, remaining of Passover for those of us celebrating. The joke was like, so they're saying they left us at home, right? They locked us at home, and now we don't even have bread anymore. So there's a shortage because Passover, we only eat matzah. So thank you, everyone. Thank you, Jonathan, so very much for joining us in the early hours of the morning in the Philippines. Thank you so much.
Trooper.
Hopefully, yeah, go get a nap.
Thank you.
Right? And
Have me, guys. It was amazing.
thank you. And anyone, if you again wanted to get Jonathan's extreme giving, right here on viralconnectivity.com/live, just hop onto the resources, scroll down because we got it a lot and it's gonna keep going, and you'll have it. And Donna here says thank you. Thanks for joining us, Donna. See you guys.